For me, the perfect moment is on Sunday morning. I treat myself to my mum's marmalade and a cup of rich Maxwell House. I love opening a new jar and making it in my special mug.
Maxwell House is slow roasted for greater richness, no matter when or where you enjoy it.
It's the same rich Maxwell House, but it's best on Sundays.
Maximize the richness. Maxwell House the coffee.
Today's modern woman needs a shampoo which is not only quick and easy to use, but which also gives really deep conditioning and shine. That's why Cream Silk have used their expertise to develop a specialist 2-in-1 shampoo with more emphasis on conditioning. New Cream Silk 2-in-1 contains panthenol pro vitamin B5 and puts body into your hair whilst protecting it from damage. So your hair's not only clean, but it looks healthy and shiny too.
New Cream Silk 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner for healthy-looking, beautiful hair.
17, 18, 19, 20. Coming!
Almost 20 children a day are killed or seriously injured while playing, cycling, or just walking home from school. Drivers simply don't see them. This reflective wrap might just help. It's included in a children's road safety pack. Application forms available from Texaco. Texaco believe children should be seen and not heard.
Are you seeing anyone?
Ted's been ringing.
Ted?
He's coming. No.
So, what's been happening then?
Not a lot.
Any, visitors or anything?
No. Except Ted. Mind the Bisto, Dad.
Bisto. It puts the R into a meal.
It's missed again.
It's the greatest ever money-off bonanza with this week's Daily Mirror. You can save £225 on your Christmas shopping. Save £10 at Superdrug, £134 at Rumpole, £20 at B&Q, £11 at Woolworth, £50 at Burton. And get your free A to Z of Christmas for the ideal gift guide. Buy tomorrow's big value Daily Mirror.
One person in 20 in the UK carries the cystic fibrosis gene like Laura and Recall. For an information pack on cystic fibrosis, please ring 0800 300 363 or write to PO Box 420, Bromley, BR1 3UF.
If you can't trust a barrister for good advice, who can you trust?
Rumpole. What's your opinion of secrets in married life?
Absolutely essential.
Even when he seems to have spent too much time at the bar.
And you told him that you didn't believe in secrets between married people.
What secrets between married couples? Oh, perish the thought.
Rumpole of the Bailey, Monday at 9 on Anglia.
There's a magical place, we're on our way there, with toys in the millions all under one roof. It's called Toys R Us.
From Jesma, the almost living doll Baby Tickles. Toys R Us price $29.97. Look, baby's first teeth, they grow. Toys R Us price $29.97. Cuddle up to baby snuggles. Toys R Us price $39.87.
There's millions such every all under one roof. It's called Toys R Us, Toys R Us, Toys R Us.
Who cares if you missed your morning lift? Who cares if work went all wrong? Who cares if it's just taken you 3 hours to get home? Who cares enough to make natural collection, arranged so exotic it soothes away all the trials of the day? Who cares?
Guys, Ingrid Hoffman just asked me to get her a Pepsi.
The cheerleader?
No.
Phenomenal. She is awesome.
Where's the cola?
In the bag.
This isn't Pepsi. I can't give Ingrid Hoffman this. That's not the last can of Pepsi, is it?
Well, you know, Jack, I think it just might be.
You could have my car tonight.
God, it's beautiful, isn't it?
You could have it for the week.
You did say this was for Ingrid Hoffman.
Okay, you can keep the car.
A cola by any other name just isn't the same.
It's been a long time, I know, Harry, but I've been training and I'm ready for my comeback. Watch Speaking Image on Sunday nights. It's really great. Know what I mean? There, that's my advertising career back online.
And after Spitting Image comes the South Bank Show, and tonight Melvyn Bragg will be talking to America's foremost playwright Arthur Miller. That's at 10:35. This is Anglia Television.
The news from ITN.
Vukovar offers to surrender, but the fighting continues. Baker on St Albans, those who live by terror die by it. Band of the Blues and Royals say they'll play on. And Mrs Thatcher stands firm against greater European unity. Good evening. Croatia has conceded defeat in the battle for Vukovar. The town is about to fall to the Serbian-dominated Yugoslav Federal Forces. The Croatians are offering to surrender in return for guarantees of safety for the 15,000 people trapped there. Vukovar has been a potent symbol of Croatian defiance, holding out for 3 months. Tonight there are still pockets of resistance.
This is the second day of the 13th ceasefire. It is also the 92nd day of the siege and bombardment of Vukovar. It's been said before, it's worth repeating, but nothing like it has been seen in Europe since 1945. Nothing and no one has escaped its devastation. Every day, soldiers have told us that Vukovar is about to fall. They have been saying it for a fortnight, but maybe now it's true. Perhaps tomorrow, perhaps Tuesday. The Serbian irregulars and federal troops have now surrounded the last remaining Croat fighters, cutting off their escape across the Danube. Because its troops are now fighting house to house, even floor to floor, the Federal Army can no longer use its long-range artillery to hit the town centre. With this kind of fighting at close quarters, the casualties are high. According to intercepted radio transmissions, there are some Croats who are willing to surrender, but only on condition it is to the Federal Army. They are terrified of the Serbs and what they will do to both Croat soldier and Croat civilian if the fighting stops. They fear a massacre, and that is why they fight suicidally on. Some families have quite literally been blown out of their hideouts in sewers and cellars. This man was one. The soldiers asked him, "Are you a Serb?" He answered, "Yes, but what does it matter? It was the Croats who hit me and saved me." There are some who watch this demolition and wonder why, just to wipe a small country town off the map. Perhaps the simple answer is that the army considers the Croats should be punished for what they have done in breaking up Yugoslavia by its unilateral declaration of independence. But to the Croats, this town has been a symbol of its defiance, a symbol of its independence. In strategic terms, its fall will mean nothing, but to the Croats, it's bound to have a devastating effect upon their resolve to continue this war. Michael Nicholson, ITN, on the outskirts of Vukovar.
An Italian ship loaded with food and medicine is due to leave for the port of Dubrovnik within the next few hours. A team from the United Nations organisation UNICEF toured the city today to assess the needs of injured and homeless children. Hospitals in Dubrovnik are packed to capacity after days of heavy artillery bombardment.
Through the wreckage left by the latest fighting, the UNICEF team travelled on a mission to assess the level of outside help needed by this battered city. First stop for the delegation, who included French and Italian government ministers, was Dubrovnik's hospital.
Good morning. I'm from Paris, France.
At the height of last week's shelling, 50 patients a day were being admitted with bullet and shrapnel injuries. Ambulance drivers were themselves injured, collecting the wounded.
Inside the ambulance, yes.
The priority for the UNICEF team is helping injured and homeless children. At the moment, newborn babies are cared for in a temporary postnatal ward in the hospital's underground nuclear shelter. The ministers believe a peacekeeping force is needed to prevent further suffering.
We saw a particular area where some children died a few days ago. I mean, it's impossible in the heart of Europe, to support that. This is impossible to believe that such a cruelty in both sides.
These people have been left to fight an impossible war by themselves, and it's profoundly unjust.
Behind the hospital, the UNICEF team was shown another emergency measure forced on the city. Its rubbish tips are overflowing, and because of the siege, there is no way of disposing of mountains of rotting waste. So refuse teams have been ordered to dump hundreds of tons of rubbish over the cliffs and into the Adriatic. The decision taken reluctantly to avoid the risk of an outbreak of disease. The people of Dubrovnik used to boast that the waters off their coast were among the cleanest in the world. They know they're harming the environment, they know they're damaging an already devastated tourist industry, but say they simply have no other choice. Paul Davies, ITN, Dubrovnik.
And the latest on the ITN reporter David Chater, who was wounded in Vukovar on Friday. His condition is still serious but stable. Doctors treating him in Belgrade expect him to make a full recovery. Here, the Home Secretary, Kenneth Baker, visited the scene of Friday night's bomb blast in St Albans and said those who live by terror will die by terror. He said police were fairly clear that the woman and the man who died in the explosion had been priming the bomb.
All day, detectives from the anti-terrorist squad have been sifting through the wreckage of the explosion, which severely damaged a large area of the inside of the St Albans precinct. The work is painstakingly slow. The remains of the two people who it's believed died while priming the bomb are spread over hundreds of yards. Today it's possible to see just how close the bombers came to the band of the Blues and Royals. The bomb, which was placed here in the bank, was only 50 yards from the concert hall where the band were playing. This afternoon, the Home Secretary saw the damage for himself.
They're evil and wicked people who plan and perpetrate these attacks. They want to kill, they want to destroy, they want to maim, and they want to injure. They will not divert the British government through its policy in Northern Ireland, and they will certainly not stop the band of the Blues and Royals playing wherever it wants to play in our country.
Police are anxious to identify the two who were killed.
Yes, it would be extremely important to know where they were living and wherever that is. But at the moment, the question of identity is absolutely crucial in order to start knowing where to look for them.
Finding out who they are would be much easier if police could track down whoever may have provided the bombers with a place to live. Robin White, ITN, St Albans.
The band of the Blues and Royals was back on the concert platform tonight, 48 hours after the bomb attack. Streets were sealed off in a large security operation around the Manchester Theatre where they were performing.
The band played on tonight exactly 48 hours after the bomb blast intended to destroy it. The programme remained unchanged. Somehow the music seemed appropriate. Hours earlier, the theatre had been thoroughly searched for explosives, while outside, police checked every possible place where a device might be hidden. When the Blues and Royals arrived, the director of music recalled the moment on Friday when the bomb went off and the reaction of the audience when they learnt what the terrorist target had been.
I shall never forget it. The audience just applauded, and we acknowledged the applause. The audience carried on the applause. I shall never forget the spirit of the public, and all the time we've got a public like that, then we've got a duty to come and perform to them.
400 people came to see the band play tonight, no one apparently put off by what had happened.
Thank you most sincerely for your courage in coming along here this evening to support the concert. It really is very much appreciated.
It was being stressed tonight that there was never any question of cancelling this or any other performance because of Friday's bomb, although the talk now is of extra vigilance. Jim Buchanan, ITN, Ashton-under-Lyne.
The funerals took place today of 3 more victims of last week's spate of shootings in Northern Ireland. At one, a Roman Catholic bishop called for an end to hideous sectarian murders. The three who died, 2 Roman Catholics and a Protestant, were killed on their way home from work on Thursday.
Northern Ireland has seen 7 terrorist victims buried in just 2 days. Catholic and Protestant workmates joined together to mourn 28-year-old Fergus McGee in Lurgan today. His wife Paula had been preparing a celebration for their 4th wedding anniversary when he was shot dead simply because he was a Roman Catholic.
It is my sad duty to condemn these hideous sectarian murders without reservation. Our people, Catholic and Protestant, desire peace.
54-year-old Desi Rogers, also buried in County Armagh today, was alongside Fergus McGee when the Loyalist Ulster Volunteer Force ambushed their car in retaliation for the IRA killings of 4 Protestants the previous day. The family of the 3rd victim of Thursday night's attack, John Lavery, held a private service at their Lurgan home. The paramilitaries later said they deeply regretted his death. He was a Protestant, mistakenly murdered by gunmen of his own religion. Jonathan Munro, ITN, in Northern Ireland.
The former Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher, has repeated her strong opposition to a federal Europe. She told an audience in the United States that creating an artificially integrated Europe would be flying in the face of history. Also today, the former Conservative chairman, Cecil Parkinson, said he wouldn't be surprised if there was no deal on political union at next month's Maastricht summit. Here's our political correspondent, Peter Allen.
Mrs. Thatcher led the chorus of Euro critics, producing for an American audience a passionate outburst against control from Brussels.
The lesson of the last century and of this is that groups of nations put together artificially will not have sufficient identity to stay together, and they will collapse.
To add to those words, there were sharp reminders for Mr. Major from 2 former cabinet members. The former Chancellor, Nigel Lawson, said there'd never be a single currency.
There are so many political problems along the way and so many economic problems along the way that I suspect that it won't happen.
Cecil Parkinson suspects there'll be no deal at Maastricht at all.
Political union treaty is a really major difficulty for us, and I would not be surprised if we came away from Maastricht without signing up to it.
A draft paper produced by the Dutch, which proposes all nationalities in the EEC should become European citizens, has added fuel to the flame of anti-European sentiment. The Dutch want a plan in which every person in the member state shall be a citizen of the Union, enjoy the rights of the treaty, and be subject to the duties imposed thereby. Despite all the fears, John Major's allies say he will face only a few rebels in the critical Commons debate.
I don't say, of course, that there are not going to be those who feel so strongly that they will vote against it. Well, so be it, I suppose. But the fact of the matter is that the overwhelming majority of the party is behind the motion and behind the Prime Minister.
All of which will serve as a reminder to John Major that even though a great majority of his backbenchers will support him in the Commons later this week, there remain some very significant individuals not prepared to see him give way too much at Maastricht. Peter Allen, ITN, Westminster.
The former Ku Klux Klan leader David Duke has made it clear that he's no intention of leaving politics, despite being decisively defeated in the election for governor of the American state of Louisiana. Duke, an independent Republican who's been disowned by President Bush, received 39% of the vote. The Democrat Edwin Edwards got 61%. Edwards, whose own career has been tainted by scandals and corruption charges, called the result a victory for decency.
Louisiana rejected the demagogue and renounced the irrational fear, the dark suspicion, the evil bigotry, and the division, and chose a future of hope and trust and love for all of God's children.
Here, the Foreign Office says it would be delighted if a report indicating the release of the Beirut hostage Terry Waite proved to be true. The Tehran Times says a Briton and an American captive will soon be freed. Terry Waite is the only remaining British hostage. The newspaper has been correct on some occasions when predicting the release of hostages. Football, 3 results today from the Barclays League. In Division 1, Sheffield United beat Sheffield Wednesday 2-0, and West Ham 0, Liverpool 0. In the second division, Sunderland and Newcastle drew 1-1. That's all from ITN for the moment. There'll be news updates throughout the night, but for now, from all of us here on the Weekend News Team, good night.
I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea in the sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by, and the wheels kick and the wind song and the white sail shaking, and a grey mist on the sea's face, and a grey dawn breaking.
Good evening. Well, for most of us, it'll just be a bit wet and windy at times in the next 24 hours, but for some, there'll be sleet and snow as well. It's been rain moving up from the southwest steadily during today. During tonight, it moves ever further north, turning to sleet and snow on the high ground of Wales, the Pennines, and certainly on the Scottish mountains there. In fact, some parts of Scotland have snow even at lower levels for a time, I think, find. It's not just wet, it's windy as well at times, low pressure coming in from the west. The very strongest winds up across north and east of Scotland during tomorrow and across the south and west of England too. Let's come back to tonight's weather though in a bit more detail. Most of the sleet and snow will be on the high ground, but parts of Scotland and northeast England could have a spell of snow even at lower levels, but it will turn more to rain, I think, later tonight and through tomorrow. Further south, well, it's turning more showery as the night wears on. Tomorrow then, a lot of cloud and outbreaks of rain across the central parts of Britain, as you can see. Again, some sleet and snow, but the snow more confined to the mountains as we go through the day. There is some brighter weather in the far north, which will be edging slowly south across Scotland during the day. In the far south, well, it's turning more showery there. Some sunny spells, but really quite a lot of showers to come. Breezy with it. The temperatures themselves don't look too bad on the south coast, 11, but further north, a bitterly cold day, 3 or 4 at best, never quite making it to the 40s Fahrenheit. There's the sunset times and the summary. Good night.
And here's a summary of the Anglia forecast. Showery outbreaks of rain will clear away tonight and temperatures will rise as southerly winds pick up and disperse the mist and fog. Tomorrow we'll see a mix of bright periods and showers, and it will be milder than of late. Further rain is likely tomorrow night and again on Tuesday, when northeast winds will become strong. Next tonight, more latex lampoonery from a cast of Spitting Images.
Monday on Anglia. Journeys looks at the early days of Christianity in East Anglia.
The followers of the carpenter from Nazareth set out to impress the Saxons, who were no mean carpenters themselves, by building magnificent structures in stone. They really had their work cut out to persuade a warrior society that it'd be a great idea to follow this chap Jesus, who let himself get slaughtered without a fight, and who thought it was a great idea to forgive your enemies.
Journeys, Monday at 10:40 on Anglia.
Introducing hot wings, new from Kentucky Fried Chicken. Tender chicken wings, a crispy coating, and just a little extra zip. Get them while they're hot. Hot wings, new from Kentucky Fried Chicken.